이것부터 가실까요?
거기 가장인 거지. 가장.
지침 가자.
가장.
지금 소주 한 어깨가 무거워.
어깨 보고 가장.
그래서
시작하자.
Hello guys, this is our computer science group. We made some research on Iron Man. We were researching if Iron Man is possible in the real life. Alright, so I will talk about, first I will talk about the power source for Iron Man. So we know that Tony Stark somehow made that miniature arc reactor stuff. That's it. So we need to determine what kind of reactor it is first. So this is the image from the movie. And we see this reactor, and we know that Tony Stark made the small miniature reactor from this stuff. And this one looks like a tube with some plasma going inside, with some magnetic stuff. So we assume that this is a fusion reactor because that one looks pretty much like a tokamak shape. Tokamak shape is this shape keeps the plasma going on so that it makes a fusion reaction happens inside, and it has you see these magnetic rings. These magnetic rings create the magnetic field to flow the plasma, keep the plasma inside the circular motion. Now this is the fusion, what is it? What this thing called is ITER, International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor. This is currently under construction in France. It hasn't been built yet, and this one's really huge because you see this little tiny thing. This is a tree, actually. So this is going to be like really huge. So before we get into the stuff, the real stuff, we'll talk about how fusion is going to happen. So fusion basically meaning there's the hydrogen atoms. Hydrogen isotopes come together to form helium, neutron, and energy. So what it means is inside that plasma, there's going to be hydrogen isotopes, and then that magnetic field is going to keep them in circular motion like this. So in here, there's going to be, if there's going to be enough time and with some energy, then hydrogen isotopes come together to form helium and create some energy. And then there's two types of fusion reaction. One thing called hot fusion and another one called cold fusion. Hot fusion uses really high heat, such as 100 to 200 million degrees Celsius, and pressure, some really big pressure to create the fusion reaction. And cold reaction is it's just using the chemical to fuse the hydrogens at the room temperature. So we think that cold fusion might be the case for, might be the right case for Tony Stark. But then cold fusion, there's been a lot of research about the cold fusion, if the cold fusion is possible in the real life. But then currently it cannot be happen in the real life. So that determines that Tony Stark, if he is using the cold fusion, then that tells us that Tony Stark our reactor is not realistic. And it seems like this is a chemical stuff that Tony Stark is using to create the fusion in his arc reactor. So but then we're saying that cold fusion is not possible in the real life. So we're just going to pass it. So we'll talk about how if Tony Stark might have the hot fusion in his chest. So there's a lot of restrictions on that as well. Current, such as the size. We'll talk about the size for now. First of all, what I was talking about in the ITER before, that one is currently running, it's going to run in 150 million degrees Celsius. So think about how 150 million degrees Celsius happening in your chest. So there's going to be, you need a big thermal insulation for that plasma. Otherwise, you're gonna get burned. Or also, positive energy gain. In order to get the positive energy gain from something, you need to have more energy than you put it in to create the heat or pressure. In this case, you have to put a lot of energy to create the heat, such as you have to increase the temperature up to 150 million Celsius. So that's going to be really huge energy to create that temperature, and also that'll tell us that you're gonna have to create a big, huge reactor to get more energy. So in capturing energy, ITER uses when a plasma is going on right now, a neutron hits the wall, and that creates the energy energy is transferred as heat to the wall. So that what ITER uses is it uses a cooling water going around with the pipe, so that water absorbs that heat and goes to the cooling center, and then it goes into the steam and to the electricity. But then we know that this is not going to happen in your chest. So as a conclusion for the power, cold fusion is not realistic. Hot fusion, if it is realistic, it's not going to happen in your chest. So as a conclusion, miniature reactor is not possible for now, maybe in the future, but not now.
Okay. Flight capability. So when we talk about Iron Man's armor, we cannot discard how cool it is when Iron Man flies. So I'll talk about the flight capability, and there are three necessities to flight. One is engine, and the other is fuel, and the other is control. And you can see that, for example, an airplane has a jet engine and some kind of fuel and wings that control the airplane. And in this presentation, I'll describe how and whether the current technology can fulfill this criterion. Next. First of all, engine. The Iron Man engine is described to be a miniaturized, variable specific, impulse magnetoplasma rocket. In short, VASMR. So, the exact capability of this engine is not described very well in the comic nor the movie, but there are a few implications. In Iron Man 2 movie, there was a suitcase armor, and in Iron Man 3, there was a piece-by-piece Iron Man armor that could just fly into the Tony Stark and attach to him. What we can notice from it is that their weight is low. They're light enough for a human to lift it without any strength enhancement. Also, according to MarvelDictionary.com, the Mark V through Mark VII armors are estimated to weigh about 200 to 250 pounds. So if worn by human, the lightest it could be is about 250 or 300 pounds. Which means that the thrust of this VASMR has to be at least 1,360 newtons. And then the size of this engine, as you can see from the picture, is about a foot size. It's not that big, about a palm size or such. However, in reality, thrust, the VASMR is still under development, but in reality, the thrust is only 5 newtons, and the size is very large, just like that. So this the reality imposes restrictions on this comic, next, in such way. So this is, so that this VASMR is still under test, and the second is that the size is too big, and the third is about environment. first, the test, it has only been tested in vacuum. SMR was only tested in vacuum because it's only 5 newtons and the size is really big, so it can't really even lift itself up on Earth. It's solely for space travel right now. Also, the size, it's obviously larger than human, and it is probably going to be hard to put multiple of them on Iron Man arm. And third, environment is that this is quite controversial, not really a fact or not really false, but this Vasimar uses a strong magnetic field energy, and there's a controversy that some believe if we strengthen it so that we can if we strengthen it to the level that we can use to actually use it, the magnetic field energy is going to be so strong that the Earth's magnetosphere is going to be affected by it, and some people think that it will be true. So the restrictions clearly show that the engine cannot be implemented with current technology. So if, for the sake of argument, if we were to assume that it is possible, is it over? Next. Well, there's a second component to it, as I described earlier. There's a fuel. So the fuel of Vasimar engine is a plasma extracted from the propellant. So, if you see the photo on the left, on my left, you can see the person with a jetpack. And this is current technology of jetpacks. The person can fly with jetpacks. And you can immediately notice that there is a huge fuel tank behind him. However, on the right side, there's an Iron Man. You don't see any fuel tank. Well, obviously, because Iron Man needs to look slim and cool. But like, if there's no fuel tank, where's the fuel coming from? Or, is there a fuel tank? Or there is. Next. The fact is, the adult human, male human, carries 5 liters of blood. And about 50% or 55% of blood can be converted into plasma. And according to a calculation of some physicists, Tony would be spending, he would require about 1 liter of blood per hour. So for Iron Man to fly at its max level. So Tony would be being dehydrated during the flight. But it's probably still better than carrying a fuel tank, right? You look cooler without a fuel tank. Or maybe not. Next. The third is control. And other than assuming that the first two components are fulfilled by some future technology, the control is fairly easy. The suit has control surfaces like any other modern airplanes, and the 2 arms can be used to steer around, and then the posture and gestures could be moved to rotate or steer around. And you can see from these 2 photos that Iron Man can just put himself into any posture and fly in any way, any direction. All assuming that there is a good software that assists the direction and the strength, like Jarvis. Next. So, conclusion in flight capability. So, technically, in current technology, Iron Man would require like 384 Vasimar engines to lift and fly, and it would only be able to fly about 5 hours, assuming that you don't need to live. And then control is probably possible. So with current technology, as you can see from this photo, this is like 15 Vasimars next to Iron Man's, and you're going to need 370 more attached to it. So I would probably, so Iron Man flight is probably not possible with current technology, unless we give up the size of Iron Man or safety of Iron Man. And this concludes the flight capability.
So I'll focus on 2 viewpoints of the possibilities of service in the suit. One is voice recognition system, and two is following command with voice recognition. So one goal of AI work in natural language is to enable communication between people and computers without memorizations of complex commands and procedures. So this voice recognition system is natural language processing. It's a field of computer science, artificial intelligence, and computational linguistics concerned with the interactions between computer and humans, natural languages. As such, NLP is related to the area of human and computer interaction. So this processing of NLP required when you want to intelligent system, like robots, to perform your instructions, when you want to hear decision from a dialogue-based clinical expert system. So the input and output of this NLP system can be speech and written text. And there are two components of NLP is given. One is natural language understanding, and two is natural language generation. So natural language understanding is basically mapping the given input in natural language into useful representations and analyzing different aspects of the language. And natural language generation is a process of producing meaningful phrases and sentences in the form of natural language from some internal representation, such as text planning, sentence planning, and text realization. So it is basically retrieving the relevant content from knowledge base and choosing required words, forming a meaningful phrases, setting tone of the sentence. So I will introduce the Parlance project based on the voice recognition system. So it is a research project that aims to design and build mobile applications that approach human performance in conversational interaction. So current search engines work well only if the user has a single search goal and does not have multiple trade-offs to explore. But to approach human performance, it requires interaction skills, which include recognizing and generating conversational speech in real time, leading to new concepts without manual intervention, and personalizing interaction. So a dialogue system in this project has some advantages which involves a modeling system that talks to human and learns as it goes, as like a machine learning. This idea is similar to teaching a child new vocabulary, and this is different from other voice recognition systems, unlike other SDS, since it responds with its own experience. So second, I will introduce the Jarvis in real life. The real-life Jarvis interface will require many complex programming as well as some accurate voice recognition system. Having a voice recognition system does not mean having a simple database of preloaded commands, and instead Jarvis responsive voice recognition system can raise question itself and wait for an appropriate answer or command. And this will take a lot of time and effort on the part of the creator. However, the chat Barrowford has created an app for the Mac, which he has named Jarvis. And this app is able to talk with him and wake him up in the morning, as well as broadcast a weather report and track some of the latest news involving around his interests. And this can be described as a setting flight schedule in the Iron Man movie. And the complete pack of services include the radio frequency identification and X10 home automation system, and wall speakers and wireless speakers.
Iron Man suit meaning physical strength. In the Iron Man movie, Tony Stark demonstrated an exceptional physical performance in the Iron Man suit, such as rapidly lifting heavy objects and running as fast as, or possibly even faster than a car. Clearly, it is a kind of fantasy that an imaginative child would have. Even an ordinary person can have superpower in an Iron Man suit. The question, though, is if it's possible to actually create an Iron Man suit in the real life. Interestingly, it turned out that there's quite a lot of research going on to build such wearable suits called exoskeleton that amplify the wearer's strength and endurance, and even increase the agility. Military uses featured prominently among proposed exoskeleton applications, and the US military is showing great interest in this technology. With finding from the American Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, Sarcus, a Raytheon company, has been developing a robotic suit, which is rigid exoskeleton suit, aimed at the soldier of tomorrow. A soldier wearing XOS-2 robotic suit presented by this company can lift about 200 pounds of weight for a long period of times without feeling any strain. The wearer can also walk, run, and readjust to keep the load off the wearer, even upon stumbling. The exoskeleton is robust and allows punching through a 3-inch of wood. It is also highly agile and does not bog down the wearer while climbing stairs or ramp using a punching bag or kicking a soccer ball. Similar work is underway by the biomechatronic group at MIT Media Lab. This aims to develop soft exoskeleton which would reduce the burden of soldiers and others who carry heavy packs or equipment, but unlike the Sarcus design, this is a lower leg device rather than a full suit. Recent tests show that although the load borne by the wearer's bag is lightened significantly, the person carrying the load consumes 10% more oxygen than normal because of the extra effort required to compensate for gait interference. The team hopes to revise the design so that the exoskeleton mimics more closely the movement of a human leg, allowing more normal walking motion. It is clearly a remarkable advance in technology and amazing features, but unfortunately, but clearly, there is a huge gap between the existing exosuit and the Iron Man suit. It's nowhere near as functional as something Tony Stark could put together. The rigid exoskeleton is heavy, locks users into particular joint movement, use a lot of power, and exhausting to wear. And for the soft exosuit, it doesn't take weight off the short soldier, and the current design isn't turned to handle running or walking over uneven ground. In consideration of these limitations and flaws, it can be concluded that it is not possible to build an actual Iron Man suit in terms of exceptional physical performance as of now.
So this will be our end of the presentation, and we concluded that Iron Man is not possible in real life. And this is our source. another source, and this is it. Any questions,
Any
guys?
Questions?